I don't know, Coop. I just don't know. I think if people follow their heart, they'll figure it out. Where's my eraser? Look, it's truly lo-fi around here, that's for sure. It's just very low fidelity. Get into it early on this Saturday. Wanted to take advantage of the more quiet weekend mornings. Hello, Dracula. Hello. Maybe this is a late night sketch sesh for some of you, but for me, it's an early weekend sketch sesh. Any tips on how to gain traffic when making art videos? No general tips. I think it depends on, you need to really know yourself, I think, and just do what you really want to do, right? Like if your main concern is just getting traffic, right? If the main thing that you're looking for is for a bunch of people to see your work and just to have a lot of eyes on it and things like that, then for that kind of goal and temperament, I would just, I'll be honest, just pander a bit. That has like a really negative connotation, but that's not how I mean it. But just like only do what your audience wants to see. Like just ask them straight up, what do you guys want to see? And if they say, Final Fantasy fan art or something like that, just do it. Just give them exactly what they want. That will produce, well, let me be clear, give them exactly what they know they want, right? What they will consciously say they want. And that would be at least most likely to gain some traction. Not always. You can't just do that and gain traction, but it's the most straightforward way. But if that's not the kind of person you are and those are not your goals, don't do that because it would be unsustainable, right? If you have different goals, if you want to be more personal or something like that, I would advise being very truthful. That's what worked for me. I've just been on here saying things that basically no one else would agree with, and questioning things that all other artists take for granted. And being truthful about those things and those doubts has made it easier for me to connect with people. So I would advise that. You have to be clear on what's really going to work for you and stuff like that, right? And most artists are pretty afraid of being clear. Not to sound like a jerk, but I don't give my audience what they want, right? I like my audience, but I'm not interested in providing anyone with what they want. It's unsustainable for me. I'll get bored. I'll stop posting. I'll stop making art. So my number one priority is to just do exactly what I want, even if no one else wants to see it or cares. And then I have to deal with the consequences of that, most of which are dealing with nobody caring, right? But I just accept that because it's like, yeah, I picked this, so no big deal. It's complicated. It's interesting that a viable option for an art YouTube channel is making videos explaining how to be an art YouTuber and selling guides on your Gumroad explaining how to become an art YouTuber. Yeah, anything's possible in the art world, right? It's all wide open. Excuse the pencil sharpening. general tips on speeding up the drawing process, or is it just mileage? It is mostly just mileage. The only thing that really makes a difference for speed is knowing exactly what you want to do. Having a clear goal. The number one thing that slows down the process is just confusion. Just not being able to visualize where you're gonna go. And I don't mean literally visualize it, like an image in your head. I mean just having some sort of criteria in mind for how you want the image to look and feel. It's all the searching and changing and hesitating that makes images go slowly. But even that is tied up with mileage, because you trim down and close down the possibility space of the sorts of images you will make as you spend more and more time drawing and start to realize what you are in terms of drawing, what you actually like doing and what you don't like doing and things like that. What is the name of the music? The one playing before this one? I lost it. This one is called Seeing Beauty in Everything by Kai Akasha, but I don't know what was playing before this. I'm playing the Lo-Fi Hip Hop Music Beats to Relax Study 2 playlist on Spotify. So if you go listen to that, it's on there somewhere. Oh wait, I'm not shuffling. I do know what it is. It was Last Walk by Kupla, Kupla. All right, I couldn't beat the boys out for their morning drive. I gotta close my window. Good morning, Benjamin. Mm-hmm. All right. Hi, Jack. Thank you. I hope you're having a nice day as well. Thanks, TJ. Traditional stuff is definitely my preference. Traditional is just way more fun. You have way more control. It looks better with less effort. People tend to care about it more. Traditional is great. Traditional wins. I should be clear when I say people care about it more. I mean regular people. Just people. Just human beings. Companies don't care about traditional. Oh, that's nice, true. Well, that's why I'm here. That is why I'm here. Steven, the 4-hour limit is working like a charm. Although I'm always past the limit, the trick is indeed leaving some fuel for the next day. Happy to say that my burnout is gone. Hooray! All right. We've got a living example of how the trick works. I'm telling y'all, it works. It's a good way to handle burnout and feeling uninterested or exhausted. if that is being caused by that particular feeling, that lack of energy, or feeling like you're always at the bleeding edge of like, what am I going to draw next and all that. If anyone has any questions about it, you can ask Fran Jacobo in the chat. Hey Steven, I'm still new to shading and I don't know what technique will work best. Can you please enlighten me? Hopefully this doesn't sound too much like a sales pitch, but unfortunately my answer to that is 5 hours long, and it is contained in my Secrets of Shading video, which you can find a link to in the description below. Go to my Gumroad page, check that out. What are your thoughts on Inktober? I've done it a couple times. It's a great exercise. I don't, these days I don't really feel the need to enslave my creativity for a month to some arbitrary thing. I also don't like that a lot of artists think it's like real. Like, it's not real. You don't have to care that you missed a day. I think a bit of it sort of enforces these toxic assumptions that artists have, that other people care what's on their feed, or that they're checking up on them, or seeing like, oh, well, did he really do one every day? Like, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Not even your mom. Even your mom doesn't care enough to notice that stuff. So don't worry about it. As someone who makes art for a living, do you try to have a different mindset while working for someone versus working on your own art? I don't try, it's just inevitable. Doing a job for someone else for money just always feels different. And I don't think there's any way around that. I would say the main difference in the mindset when I'm working on a gig is just, I don't have to think about how I'm gonna get through it, like what I'm gonna do to muster the energy to finish it or anything like that. I just have to. So that's a pretty cost-intensive process when doing my personal work, right? In fact, most of the fight with personal work is just that you're gonna waste like 70% of your creativity coming up with reasons to stop instead of reasons to keep going. So fighting against that is really processing intensive during personal work. But when I'm doing client work, that gets freed up. I don't run that process. It's just a given that you're going to finish it because you have to. So the mindset is much more concerned with getting things done efficiently, communicating efficiently, which you don't have to do when you're working for yourself. You can do the ugliest possible sketches, and as long as they explain to you what you want to achieve out of the next step, it couldn't matter less. But that's not the case with client work. You have to do that very ugly sketch and have your own idea, but then you need to like do second passes on them to be like, how do I make sure this communicates that to another person, even in a very rough mode and things like that. It's a lot of communication doing a gig. If you're not good at communicating and predicting what is going to confuse an art director and what isn't, a lot of the times your best ideas just don't happen. They'll pick something else. It all gets too random. I think recently you said something about artists working on their appropriate scale. Do you still remember, and can you repeat it? I forgot. I mean, scale is in picture size. Yeah, the basic idea is that artists, just to generalize, artists tend to work small. I'm going to say like draftsmen, like people in our little world, in the illustration world and stuff like that. They tend to not draw bigger than sketchbook size. Generally. But a lot of those people are very interested in doing quote unquote realistic work. And realistic work is easier done at massive scales. That's why most of the artists that you find on Instagram, for example, who do like hyper realistic oil paintings, if you see the painting for real, like if the artist takes a photo with them next to it or something like that, it's huge. It's like 6 feet wide or something like that, or even bigger. It's monumental in scale. That's because that makes things look more photographic and realistic and rendered in reduction, even if at actual size things are a bit rougher. So a lot of people are shooting themselves in the foot. They consider themselves a realistic artist. They want to do things that look real and look super rendered, but they draw tiny, which makes it much, much harder to achieve that look. So for a lot of those artists, I would say give it a swing. Try working 6 feet wide sometimes. There's a reason that most of your realistic and hyper-realistic heroes work gigantic. Also, bigger paintings sell better. Hi, Eva. I really like that you have classical and academic style in the drawing, but with a very artistic and lawless mindset. Well, thank you. I've had to struggle for that for many years. It was a balance that I was after for a very long time. I'm not all the way where I want to be with it, but any progress towards that, I'm very happy about. Good luck with your tattoo, Shad. Hey Steven, I heard you talk about taking a workshop at the CGA at some point. You talked briefly about the difference between conceptual and optical form. You'd be able to elaborate. Yeah, that was GCA, that was Grand Central Academy at the time, which I think has a different name now? Maybe? I can't remember if they changed their name or not. They're not at Grand Central anymore. They're in Long Island City in New York now. But yeah, basically, optical form is the quote-unquote reality of what you are seeing in real life by eye, right? So if you're looking at my hand on camera right now, the optical values and the optical form are created by merely the two-dimensional facts of how the shapes of shadow, light, and color are hitting your eye in a two-dimensional way that replicates the illusion of a three-dimensional form, right? And to work purely optically is to only work by making assessments and judgments based on those shapes. Conceptual modeling starts there, but then adds things that you know are true about the form, even if you can't see them, right? So I'm not going to pick it apart in reality, but just as a hypothetical, let's say that there's value changes all along the local color of the back of my hand, right? Let's say my skin is tanned and mottled. So it's a little darker here, a little lighter here, a little darker here, a little lighter here, a little darker here. If you skinned me and flayed me and you laid my skin out flat. So that creates variations that confuse the nature of the light and make it less apparent that there is a subtle round roll to the back of my hand. It's a little lower here and it's a little higher at the peak, right? It might actually be impossible to tell that from this one two-dimensional view of my hand. There simply isn't any value changes there to explain that clearly. What you do in conceptual modeling is you know that that's true because of anatomy and such, and you impinge it onto the drawing even though it's not present in the optical phenomenon. You add it. So you exaggerate more shadow here, lighter here, more shadow over here. Again, those are the two basic worlds of value modeling, and you either blend them or you stick to one or the other. So that was the difference that I was referring to there. GCA taught much more conceptual form. They seem to take it for granted that, of course, you're going to pay attention to the optical phenomena. You're looking at it, it's right there. You're going to stare at your cast and your life drawing or your life model for hours in their classes. So they just kind of take it for granted that you're going to pay very close attention to the optical phenomena, and they were much more focused, at least when I was there, on explaining conceptual form ideas to people. Eugene Dream with the 5 incredibly Canadian dollars. Thank you so much, Eugene Dream. When I buy coffee with that later today, I will savor it and I will think of you. will say there's only one patron who could have bought me such a delicious coffee, and it was Eugene Dream. Steven, as you do environment design or theme park design for your work, will you make a tutorial on tips for that kind of work? Only if I haven't done it in a very long time and a lot of people are interested in it. I don't want to spend my downtime doing the exact same thing that I do for work, you know. I'd have to get quite a bit of distance on it for me to be able to bear doing it during the day and then spending all my night doing the exact same thing I just did for work. It's also pretty niche, so I don't know how many people are realistically looking to take a stab at it, which is a bit of a shame because it pays way better than most of the art world. Do you enjoy your job, Steven? Well, I don't have a job, so it's hard to say, you know. I have gigs. I do gigs. When you do freelance gig work, it depends on the gig. And it's tough because you don't ever really know what the gig's gonna be until you're already doing it. You know, it's different every time. So sometimes you think you're going to enjoy it, and then the gig is very different than what you expected, and you wind up not enjoying it. And then also vice versa. Sometimes you think, this one's going to be a drag, and then you're like, well, that's funny. That turned out to be the most fun I had on a gig all year. That's just how it goes. Also, the longer you've been doing it, the less it matters. Like, because I'm not really stressed about the art anymore, like, no one really, it's very rare for me to get a gig these days where when I hear what I have to do, I'm like, oh crap, how am I going to do that? Like, that doesn't really happen anymore. So that means that I can enjoy jobs like the art. If the art's a bummer to do or it's just not super interesting, I can kind of disassociate from it, and then I can wind up loving the gig because of the people on the job, right? Cool art director, cool person at the next desk, something like that. I've had plenty of gigs where like the art was really like not aligned with me at all, and I wasn't having quote unquote fun doing the art, but it didn't matter because I was just doing it and the team was so fun, you know? So there's all sorts of different reasons to like or dislike gigs and stuff like that. And yeah, unfortunately, it's very hard to predict what you're gonna like or not like with gig work. Have you experienced RSI, like repetitive stress injuries? Not in any severe way. I've definitely had weeks where I'm like, damn, my wrist hurts while I draw, but it has never become debilitating or something that required medical attention. It always goes away, even if I draw through it. I try to be careful though. When I feel that stuff coming up, I switch mediums if I can get more focused on my ergonomics. I draw less, you know. But no, it's never reached a point where it does for many people where I like can't draw or something like that. Magda says, we know you've been drawing since Cat Zero from your sister. Since when did the passion for classic stylized characters show up? I don't know. Yeah, I started, the first things that I drew were like stuff from the media I was consuming. Like I started with drawing like characters from the video games that I was playing, TV shows that I was watching, like Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that. And then pretty young, I got exposed to the old masters. And then that really influenced me tremendously. So I really did focus a lot on drawing with a lot of the classical touchstones like line control and rendering and anatomy and things like that. But wanting to push that onto more creative things. It was really a pretty direct blend. Like, no, you started with video games, drawing monsters and robots and characters and things like that. And then you found the old masters and you wanted to draw like that, and I just combined them. And that was my goal for a very, very long time. And then in like my late teens, early 20s, my goal switched to destroying my enemies, overpowering them with my sheer artistic might, winning a war that didn't exist, etc., etc. I need a drink of water. It is what it is. Do you like cartoon style or manga style or not realistic style in general? I like them, I just don't draw like that. I don't have anything against those styles, and I consume some media in those styles, but I'm just not interested in working that way. How would you advise juggling the learning of multitude of skills as an amateur who wants to progress at a decent pace? Well, John, I mean, I talk about this a lot, but really the only realistic way to juggle it is to not do everything. You can't do everything. A lot of artists out there are stuck in a very dangerous place, I would say, where they just think they're supposed to learn everything. They're like, I gotta learn line work and values and color and structure and anatomy and how to draw all of these different specific kinds of objects and gesture and posing and having really animation style color and really creepy color and just everything. They just have everything on their plate, which makes no sense. I mean, it makes absolutely zero sense. Just think about your favorite artists. Think of your top 5 favorite artists. Are they good at everything? No, never. I mean, the very best tend to do 2 things very well, and there's plenty of artists who are your favorite who are just very good at one thing. That is the practical, realistic reality of what it means to be an artist. I'm good at a lot of things, but 90% of the people on my channel or in this stream really only care about my pencil drawings, right? Like, no one's sharing my digital art, you know, like no one cares, you know, even though I'm pretty good at it. And I'm pretty good at a lot of other things too, and tons of stuff that I don't share, like stuff that I do for work and things like that. But people really only know me for one thing, right? And there's useful tangential learning that happens between all of the different aspects. But realistically speaking, artists master a thing. That's it. So I actually think it's a bad idea to try to do everything. I think that that's for very few people in the world. I think that that's for like 100 people in the whole world where that's a good idea. And you work to projects. You say, all right, well, if I'm really only going to do one thing, well, what would it be, right? That really narrows things down a lot. And for a lot of people, it's like, all right, well, if I'm only going to be good at one thing, that really demands of me to do this particular series of drawings well, or design this thing I've always wanted to design well, or make my comic book or whatever, right? Like, it gets the emphasis off of you, right? And trying to present yourself as a badass artist, which is an easy source of energy early on, but not sustainable, not useful, except for those 100 freaks who are supposed to do everything. And you know, I already see in the chat people saying I will be one of those 100 people. Go ahead, try. Just statistically speaking, you will not be, right? It's not going to happen for you, but it's a perfectly thing to mine energy from in the beginning. I'm really optimistic about art. I'm super positive, right? I am down on that point. I try to be realistic about that point because I think it's very unfunny and very unproductive how people say I'm gonna be one of those 100 people, which is a very unrealistic thing, and then when they fail, they quit drawing. They get sucked into a very extreme mindset, which is very common for artists, where they think I'm either the best or why would I do it? Which is, yeah, you're basically guaranteed to fail, right? You're gonna destroy your art practice by having really unrealistic standards like that. And I don't think it's healthy. And I refuse to encourage it. So, you know, that's why on that one point, I try not to be Gary Vee. You know, I try not to be, you can do it, you're the best, like that. Chill. That ain't it. That's not the most wise, useful way to go through it. So do projects, don't focus on skill base so much, have realistic expectations, and work super hard. But your paintings with colors are wonderful. Thank you. You know, I'm not saying they're bad, right? Don't take what I said as me getting down on my art or anything like that. I know I'm good. I'm not worried about that. I'm just saying to teach a lesson about what it means to be an artist and to brand yourself and to put yourself out in the world. I'm good, but nobody cares, right? People don't care about what's good. People care about like precision branding, emotional things that they can connect with. And you know, if people are going to care about something that's good, they're only going to care about like the best thing, right? Which is really hard to do. So yeah, I know my digital paintings are good. No one pays me for my pencil drawings. Clients pay me for digital work, so I know it's good. But it's just interesting and a valuable lesson that nobody cares, right? Most people only care about one thing that an artist does. And that makes it very counterintuitive to when you're trying to become an artist, think you're supposed to be good at everything. That's crazy. That's patently crazy. There's no evidence for that, you know? It's a mind virus. Kim Jong-gi though? Kim Jong-gi is not good at everything. Kim Jong-gi makes Kim Jong-gi pictures every time. You know, that's the thing with branding. You're so amazed by his virtuosity and you're so overwhelmed by how skillful he is that everybody just assumes, oh, he's good at everything. It's like, no, he's not. He's good at the picture that he makes over and over and over again. The punchline there is that a Kim Jong-gi picture always has everything in it. It has naked people, it has clothed people, it has cars, it has the engines of cars, it has attack helicopters, it has full environments. He's only good at that. It just so happens that that has everything in it, right? And if you asked Kim Jong-gi to do like, you know, a, like a flap traps looking digital painting, he can't do it. He's not gonna do it. He doesn't think that way. He's not good at everything. No one's good at everything. I have not been to a THU. No. How do you describe the value of dabbling in other mediums in your own practice? I know, for example, you use ZBrush and Blender and obviously go between digital and traditional. Hey Nathan, what's up, dude? I mean, the value is very big for me. Well, obviously, 3D programs are really useful for me because I know I'm a form-based artist, right? I've just seen all of my interests come and go and seen what sticks and what doesn't. And just from years of observing myself, I know that the main thing that I'm interested in art is form, right? Because of that, 3D programs, which are very intimately connected with form, right? You can sculpt things, you can light them, you can analyze the form, you can pick it apart, you can rotate around it. Those have been very educational for me in my understanding of form and in just creating references for forms and things like that. That's mostly why I sculpt in ZBrush is when I need a reference for a bigger piece and I just want something to be just right form-wise. The digital and traditional thing is maybe a bit more nuanced, but these days, the main benefit that I get out of it is that, okay, this isn't just about traditional and digital. Like, this goes for all mediums. So this is something that can be applied across anything, really. It's very useful in almost all mediums to try to play to what the medium is bad at, right? So, for example, pencil, when you're working with pencil, you have a little tip, right? This tiny, in my case, a 0.5 millimeter tip. And this is the only mark that will go down, right? It has some variation. You can mess around with it a little bit, but it will only ever put down a line at a time. So you can either lean into that forever, or you can try to do some tricks, some things that make your pencil drawing stand out by trying to drag out of this the kinds of things that other mediums do. So for example, if you're using a paintbrush, you don't do a line, you do big value shapes, right? You leave big, broad swaths of value. That's what paintbrushes are good at. That's what pencils are bad at. If you insist that your pencil pull it off, do controlled, large, designed shapes of value, your pencil drawings will stand out because almost no one can do that, right? Because people are less inclined to go against the medium. So digital and traditional is another example of that. And when I draw traditional, I try to keep in mind, try to do some stuff that you would do if you were doing it digitally, right? So big soft form, big value changes, big gradients, and especially being fearless about changes. That feeling that is always present when doing digital, because you can go back and forth forever, it recedes when you're doing traditional art. So I try to trigger a bit of that digital mindset while I'm doing traditional. And when I'm doing digital, I do the reverse. When I'm doing digital, I try to work digitally as traditionally as I can. So I try to draw things, I try to build them up, I try to start on lower opacity, I try to creep up to contrast instead of starting at maxed out contrast, which is very easy with digital work. So basically my mind is always on the other while I'm doing the one. That makes for a lot of good tangential learning. Any art-related guilty pleasures? Love watching someone painting eggs. Absolutely not related with your practice, but incredibly enjoyable. No, I don't believe in guilty pleasures. They're just pleasures. I don't care what if I like something, I just like it. It's not guilty. If I like something, it's because it's good in some way, and that's it. And if something's just really, really good, I'll probably find some enjoyment in it. Oh, feel lucky that I didn't repeat myself there, Nathan. I'm glad that wasn't new at all. I do a lot of saying the same things over and over again. I'm a starting digital artist and struggle a lot with the process of getting stuff to look clear / polished. Any tips? I mean, a lot of that is just not having a clear vision. Like nothing makes things look clearer than having a clear vision. So that's just going to come with mileage. The more practical answer to that is just use a lot of layers. Use a lot of layers and clipping masks. Try to do every part of the light. Like I'm doing the shadow, I'm doing the highlight, I'm doing the center light, I'm doing the reflected light. In the beginning, if you really want things to be clear, just try to do all of those on a separate layer. And if you don't know what the parts of the light are, go Google that. That's where you gotta start. Not the iPhone alarm. Yeah, you'll be hearing that for a little bit probably. My wife's out there doing intervals. Inktober. Yeah, I wonder how many people are doing Inktober in this chat. None for me, thanks, but I'm sure a lot of people are. Someone asked me earlier how many cups of coffee I drink before drawing. One big one, usually. I just have one big cup of coffee. And then it's tea for the rest of the day. For the most part. If I'm drinking coffee later in the day, it's because I'm desperate. I'm just trying to tone it down. I used to drink way too much coffee. Who knows, it might still be way too much coffee. It's a big cup of coffee I have in the morning. I don't think I've seen Toriyama's Dragon Quest design. Well, I've probably seen them, but I just don't remember them right now. It wasn't the monsters in Dragon Ball that got me that I was interested in. It was the anatomy, all of the action, the muscles, the bulging, the charging up. I would say the explosive anatomical energy is what I loved about Dragon Ball Z. I just saw that and I was like, yeah, man, I'm in. I want to get punched in the face by some thick, strong boys. And I lived my life by that system for years. You getting started now over there, dude?
Yeah.
Are you ever satisfied with a drawing to say it's done? Yeah, usually after like 100 hours, but you can always keep going on a drawing. There's no real point of being done. It's just where you decide you have made your where you decide you have successfully made your statement. The trick there is if you have no idea what your statement is. If you have no idea what you're trying to communicate, you're screwed. You'll have no idea where to go to finish. How do you cope with the negative repercussions of being a homewrecker that are inextricably linked to your love advice on bats? In the immortal words of Tywin Lannister, the lion does not concern himself with the thoughts of the sheep. Or something along those lines. I really don't know how bad things would have to get for you for me to care. I really can't imagine how bad things would have to get for you for me to stop kissing bats. It's hard enough to catch a bat. You're not gonna kiss them? They get depressed if you don't kiss them, you know. I have a question, says Nipple Genius. Alright. Keep it together, Steven. Alright. I have a question. I've watched the majority of your videos and they've really been helpful in making drawing fun again. But it seems like I'm stuck in the doodling part. Do you have any advice? In the forge of your heart, you must first create fun. You must fold it over itself many thousands of times and harden the fun. The fun in your hand must be as sure as any warrior's blade. You must know exactly what it's capable of. You must know where it will bend and where it will break. You must be confident in only one thing, which is that no matter what happens, your joy is self-made. Your pleasure is not given to you by the world outside or the circumstances of it, but as a gift from yourself to yourself. Once you really feel this, once you can really do this, you will feel free to do a project as dangerous and large as you can imagine. Because there's nothing that could happen within that project that could destabilize you, that could steal the fun from you. And if it felt like that was going to happen, you would always understand it's not the project, it's you. And you can correct it. You can work on it. The feeling that your fun is imperturbable, that drawing is a pure joy, for most artists, once deeply integrated, makes it easy for them to stop doodling. Because now, they can really go for their dream. You can really go for the pictures that when you think about them, you're like, I can't make that. Someone else has to make that. No. Those are the ones you're supposed to make. Those are your pictures. Did anyone in your life tell you that you can't be an artist? No one told me I couldn't be an artist. I had a couple people tell me I didn't have it, that I wasn't good enough, but no one ever told me I couldn't be an artist. No one ever tried to prevent me from doing whatever I wanted. I didn't have like a mom or a dad who told me it was a bad idea and that I should do something else or anything like that. They were very out of my way. I was always very independently minded. My great struggle is to reconcile my nature with myself, not with others. I use HB lead. I do not take any reference from Dragon Ball. It is just what inspired me, but I don't look at it anymore. Or it was one of my initial inspirations as a child, but I do not look at it actively anymore. And I have not kept up. I haven't watched any of the new series or anything like that. Steven, I struggle to draw a complex architectural molding of something, like a window. Got any advice to simplify that down or to express it properly in a drawing? I just go for the shadow shapes with stuff like that. So, speed up, so if you've got a molding or something, so let's say it's got, 2 swirls. And it counters back on each other. And it's got offshoots. And maybe it's like in a triangular frieze kind of structure. And there's an egg and dart or something like that. If you have to go in here and you have to render all of this out and try to make sense of every little thing, that's gonna take forever. And for the most part, you don't need it and no one's gonna see it, right? It's really, unless this is the whole point of the drawing, to render that out and to track the halftones and everything like that is really gonna be, it's not just gonna be missed, it might be distracting. It might actually hurt the picture. So in most situations like that, you just imagine that there's a light source coming from some direction, right? You ignore the halftones, you ignore the binding lines or anything like that, and you only do what would be true shadow. Which is just going to be a few flecks and dots. And I'm doing it in ink to be clear, but you can do this exact same thing with just pencil. If you want to see a good example of that, check out his name Ernest Guptill. He has a famous old book on, he has famous old books on pencil drawing and ink drawing. And you'll see many examples of him using the pencil like he's using an ink pen the way I'm doing right now, and just leaving out everything that isn't true shadow. Now when you erase that, if you did a little bit more than that, it holds together. And you have a base that'll read from far away. It's not distracting, and it communicates, and it sits back. Your favorite living artist? Different answers depending on what the context is. I also have favorite artists who are alive who stopped doing the thing that made them my favorite. So it's like, does that count? You know, they're still alive, but they don't do the thing that makes them my favorite artist anymore. So, as my answers to everything seem to go, very nuanced, very difficult thing to answer. Depends on how you frame it. How do you get started to make money making art when you are still studying? You need to put yourself in a market. That's really it. Most artists don't put themselves in a market, you know? You gotta be like, all right, I want to do fantasy art. I'm gonna post that I'm open for commissions on the Dungeons and Dragons Reddit or something like that. Or, all right, well, I want to work in video games. Well, I'm gonna throw together an entry level or intern level portfolio, and I'm going to try to get unpaid work on an indie game job or something like that. Like, that's really the stuff you need to do. You need to put yourself in a market. But most artists don't do that. They don't put themselves in markets. They just want to be as good as they can be. They never position themselves. So that's where I would start. Put yourself in a market, and then just keep working on your skills. And when I say keep working on your skills, I mean do projects for the market. It's very hard to do anything in art until you know what you want. One of your favorite comic book artists? Dave Gibbons, the guy who drew V for Vendetta and Watchmen. Yeah, he's pretty great. I'm reading Berserk right now, so... Oof, what's his name? Is it Kentaro Miura? Great artist. I don't really read a lot of comics. Guilty. 35 and still have not put myself in a market because I lack confidence and discipline. Yeah, probably the confidence more than anything else. It's probably you're just scared. I know it's scary. Artists hate to have their dream become a reality because the reality is always so much smaller than their vision. But you either learn to cope with it or you don't, and you never do anything. Did you eat your breakfast yet? Sure did. I was up and at it early today. One of those early Saturdays. What are your thoughts on freelancing, Steven? Is it a good idea? I do it. It's not for everybody. Freelancing is a very hard lifestyle. It takes a particular temperament. You're alone a lot of the time. Working remote a lot of the time. You get isolated from the projects that you work on because nobody updates you about what's going on with them and things like that. It can very quickly start to feel like you're just doing homework assignments all the time because you never you're not part of the party at the end and you're not getting the updates and you just work so hard on something and then it goes on to the next part of the process and you never see it again, you know? It's not for everyone. And it's very unsure, and you don't work all the time. Very few freelancers are always working, so you have to be very used to or want to have a lot of downtime. My gut says that most artists would be happier working in studio, but I'm also not as antisocial as a lot of artists, you know? I'm fine being around people and dealing with managers and stuff like that. And a lot of artists find that stuff totally antithetical to the nature of their existence, so I'm sort of biased there in a way that a lot of artists are the complete opposite. My art teacher told me a lot of stories from when she was in college, selling art on the streets and a lot of stuff. One girl was just splashing colors on t-shirts and she was making hundreds. Cool. Yeah. There's a million different ways to do it. And God bless to anyone who can survive in this industry. That's what I say. As long as you're not stealing from other people, I really don't care what you gotta do to make it work. It is... Anytime anyone can make a living off their art, it's a miracle. Hello. Hi, Aswan. Aswan. Biker car. I hate my car because I live in New York City, but I've never been quite stable on a bike. I don't have a lot of physical coordination. That's not really it. Being on a bike in New York City is really stressful, so I never really picked it up. I don't have the tolerance for such a negative experience. Steven, what is the difference between Loomis, Asaro, Riley method versus Block-in? Is one better than the other? Is there a wrong method? It's hard to know which way to go when learning about myself. No, none of them are wrong and none of them are right. They're just methods. Do whichever one doesn't make you fall asleep. all of the methods hold some people back and elevate others. They're just, I try to think of all the methods and pedagogies in schools, they're just tricks to keep people interested or to keep them from panicking. So just use whichever one is useful to you. And as soon as it's not useful, dump it. You don't want to be too tied up with a method anyway. Then your work will just look like the work of everybody else who can do that method well. They're only learning tools. You dump them at your first possible opportunity. Remember, the goal is always to draw intuitively. No one draws the Asaro head when they are like amongst skilled artists, like people who have a grip on things. No one draws the Asaro head on their paper and then like elaborates it. It may be going on in the background, but no one actually quote unquote uses it, you know? You draw intuitively. That should always be the goal. Yeah, Stephen Bauman's method may look technical, but it's not, right? For him, it may look technical to you, but for him drawing it, it's totally intuitive and natural. And he's not within a prison of diagrams that he's memorized or anything like that. It may look like that to you because you don't have access to his internality, but he's flexing it, bending it, breaking the rules, responding to the model. He's just doing whatever he wants with it. Very important to understand this. Have you worked on game art, pixel art? No, I haven't done any pixel art. I've worked on video games, but I haven't done any pixel art. most of the art that I've done for video games is pre-production art, so it's not actually in the game, it's concept work. Do you make a living off of drawing? Yep. The only living I've ever made is off of drawing. Can you say what's your favorite game that you worked on, that you yourself enjoyed playing the most? Probably Elder Scrolls Online, but even that, I didn't really play that much. Are there ever any NDAs that prevent you from sharing your work for video games with your followers? Always. Exclusively. I just gave up. I don't really share any of my commercial work anymore. The theme park ones are just totally unlivable. for theme park work, I can't post anything. I'm lucky if I can post anything at all, and then even if I can, I usually can't post it until the place has actually opened. Which is like, you know, that means that I did that drawing like 7 years ago. So why would I want to show it, you know? So yeah, I recently just gave up. I don't have any of my commercial work online anymore. I'll just send it to clients one-to-one, one-on-one if I need to. Bummer, would love to see them. Nah, you wouldn't. All of everything that I post that is my personal work is way cooler. Trust me. I'm always doing way more elaborate, complicated things for myself than I am for clients. You would be very bored by my client work. Glad I caught one of these streams. Love your art. It's awesome. Oh, thank you. Are you human? Absolutely. Thank you for your contribution to this art thing. Oh, my pleasure. I'm very happy to be contributing. What do you think about Dave Raposa art? I think he's great. I've followed Dave for a long time. He's a great inspiration for how to market yourself, how to just like do stuff that works, and who cares what everybody else thinks. Very inspiring for that. Could someone tell me real quick how long I've been up? What does YouTube say? Thank you. Ah, you found me, Chady. You found me. Shad says, do you hope to one day only do personal work? How far down the road, if so? Yeah, I do. I'm working on that now. I don't know how far down the road. Got to be flexible as an artist. I am not sure. But when I say personal, I mean like this YouTube channel. Like I don't mean just sitting in the dark doing my own drawings. and not like putting things out or anything like that. I mean, doing stuff like this. I have come to realize that I truly love this YouTube stuff will always be part of the practice. I would not be happy just doing my own personal work alone and then like selling that, for example. I'm too social for that. It's hard being completely isolated and not having any contact with other artists. So that's why I do this, and that's why I teach. So I would always do those. But yeah, I think if I only taught and did my own work and did YouTube videos and streams like this, yeah, I really don't see what I would miss about client work. I don't really pull a lot of fulfillment or satisfaction from like status stuff, like being on big projects or things like that. It's possible that I just haven't been on the right kind of one after all these years, but it's just never really done it for me. I just don't really, I don't know. It's not, my personality doesn't really align with that. I feel gross taking pride from that stuff. That just all feels like good luck, you know? But the emails that I get from this YouTube channel, for example, I've had plenty of those like make me cry. And there's a level of satisfaction there that I have never experienced on a commercial job. It's like, I did it for a long time, and I kind of have a read on, like, I get how this works. I know where this is going. I'm just interested in other things now. How often do you draw or try to draw things that you are not as good at? Is it difficult? Are you enjoying it? Within the things that I want to do, I do it all the time. But I don't go, like, when you say, how often do you try to draw things that you are not as good at drawing? Like, I'm not that good at drawing cars. I would never go draw a car just because I'm not good at it. That's a waste of time. It's not, it aligns with nothing that I want to do or that I want to achieve or that I enjoy doing. So that stuff out at the extremes, yeah, I don't do that ever, right? I'll do that on a job, right? But I would never, on my own, I would never do that. I just don't see any good reason to do that. Within the things that I do want to do, that I know are the kinds of pictures I want to make, I constantly do the things that I'm not that good at all the time. You know, I'm always analyzing, like, all right, this last piece was successful linearly, but the value pattern wasn't good, and I've never been quite good at value pattern. All right, the next one is focused on value pattern. I'll try to base the whole picture, the whole drawing off of having a successful value pattern. I just keep reacting like that to everything that I do. I think I'm one of the lucky ones who was able to see your theme park work. Yeah, I mean, it's not like you can't find it out there or anything. Some of it's online. It's just I don't have it on my pages anymore, and it's not like my name is on it. You know, you won't find it if you Google my name next to stuff like that. You know, that stuff's just owned by the companies. They don't credit artists or anything like that. I'm not hiding it actively. It's out there. You ever get frustrated over clients or suits who only know marketing and demographics, but nothing about aesthetics, trying to boss you around? Will answering this kill your career? It couldn't possibly kill my career because nobody watches this. I'm just a little channel. There's only 130 people in here. Like, I'm deeply appreciative, but you know, none of my bosses are watching this. You know, no one who's gonna go squeal on me is gonna watch this. Like, you can't worry about stuff like that. Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend that I'm bigger than I actually am or that anybody cares. Nobody cares. And the answer is, of course, everybody does. That's just part of life, and that's certainly part of being a commercial artist. Being a professional is just, yeah, you feel that, but then you just act like it doesn't matter. You know, you don't let that drive your decision making. At least not on the job. You know, once the job's done, you can tell yourself, well, I'm never going to do that again, which is, you know, that's anyone's prerogative to not want to do a particular kind of work. But on the job, you just, yeah, you're going to feel that, but you don't base any decisions off that. Frustration is nothing. It's just an emotion. You don't have to let it make you do stuff or say things to people or anything like that. But sure, it is super frustrating, depending on the context. You know, there's just a lot of times when someone will just sort of, you know, flippantly say something that they didn't even really think about. It's like they didn't evaluate it, they didn't plan it, someone just asked their opinion and they just go bleh. You know, they just have this random, not random, it's their opinion, but it's not thought out, and it took them not a second to say it or to conceive it, but then you have to make it a reality for like a week, and that doesn't feel great all the time. But again, that's just the job, you know. That's just the way things go. You made it, Aiden. Congratulations. Draw, sleep, repeat is in the chat. Incredible. A routine is in the chat. The abstract concept of a routine is in the chat. Is art a way of philosophy? You bet. Art is whatever you want it to be. Art is not one thing or another. If you want it to be a philosophy, guess what? It is. If you want it to be a totally blue collar, like it's just like any other craftsman's job, it's not metaphysical at all, you are also right. You get to have that. Art is completely and utterly flexible. It has no substance. It has no structure. Whatever way that you want to interpret it and look at it is absolutely valid. You can think that art is the most useless, no meaning, silly, narcissistic practice that a person can possibly do, and that is correct, and you get to practice it that way if that's what you want. And you can also think that whenever you are drawing, you are literally talking to God and that God is communicating with you. Either is fine, and there's artists who do both and do good work at either end of the spectrum. Art has no structure. Everything is available. Who is your idol in art? I have no idols in art. I gave up on hero worship. It does nothing for the artist. I hold myself to no image of another. Do nothing but confuse and ensure that you always feel like you are not the image. You tried to draw on drugs? If so, how did it turn out? And if not, would you like to try it? Yeah, I mostly like to draw totally sober. I find I just get distracted if I'm in any kind of altered state. Oh, you gotta go running. I have not met Carl Kopinski. Steven, do you ever like an idea consciously, but when it comes to execute it, you don't like it anymore? Sure. Happens all the time. No problem, Aiden. My pleasure. Have you ever tried to draw using both hands at the same time? I'm sure that I have, I just don't remember it. I am sure that the results were not memorable. I've done all sorts of weird stuff in drawing. I've done a considerable amount of drawing with my eyes closed, of all things. Like, I've tried all sorts of weird stuff. I was that kind of a weirdo. I remember I did that once at Life Drawing even. I was drawing with my eyes closed at Life Drawing, and even the proctor had to be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Just subbed? Why, thank you. Thank you for the sub. I greatly appreciate it. What a lovely sub. I'm very happy to have your sub here. We'll keep it safe. We'll put it in the sub bank. I would assume you were squinting. Nope. I was drawing with my eyes closed. Yeah, if I remember correctly, on that particularly weird day, I was doing this exercise I made up where, let's say the pose was a minute pose. It was like a gesture pose. I would only look at the model for 30 seconds and try to memorize everything that I was seeing. And then for the the other 30 seconds of the minute pose, I would close my eyes and I would try to draw the model while very intimately like feeling every little bump and notch that I remembered, and only going by feel. Like, could I feel like I was crafting, like touching and rubbing this thing that was only in my imagination and not in my mind, but that I knew was robust because I had just looked at the real thing in life. I think that's what I was doing. And obviously, it's the secret to drawing, and it's the reason that I'm good at drawing. And anyone who hasn't done that is a fool. So I have my whole career to thank. I have that exercise to thank for my whole career. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't kidding. The proctor did see what I was doing and was like, what are you doing? And then I did, like an idiot, like such a kid. I like explained that to them like they cared. And yeah, they were like, huh, all right, actually, sure. And then they left me alone. And I did do it for the rest of the session. The Redacted Computer subbed. Thank you so much, Redacted Computer. Thank you for your sub. It's a glorious sub. It's shining and golden and gives off a nice orange aura. I love your sub. I'm so happy to have found it. Thank you for it. It goes right in the sub bank. Goes in the sub bank with all the other subs in the vault, the heavily guarded sub vault. It's in Quadrant 3, Area A. How often do you go live? Well, these days I'm doing it a lot. Like, I've streamed most days for the past like 2 weeks. I think I've taken like 2 days off. But no promises that it'll always be like that. It'll certainly go down because my workshop starts next week, so I probably won't stream on workshop days. I just do it when I can. It's just that I get pretty dang busy. I have the energy to do it a lot because I'm always drawing anyway, but yeah, it just depends on what other stuff is keeping me busy. Info on the workshop. You can go to my Gumroad page and look at the all the info is in the Gumroad page for the tickets. They're sold out right now, but it'll give you a general idea if you're interested in doing another one in the future. So down in the description is a link to my Gumroad, and there you'll find the information on the workshops for October. You can't get them anymore, but you can read the info there. You have great skills, bro. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Love this song. So good. Oh. You know, I'll probably get a copyright strike for that stupid idiot blasting his radio outside my window. Now I have 2 reasons to hate him. Careful of copyright. Nah, it's fine. It's probably too distorted and low volume to get picked up. But even if it did, I'll just have YouTube clip out those 2 seconds. No harm, no foul. There was no info there. Was that coming from outside? Yep, I live in New York City. People sure do love their loud cars, man. They want everyone to know what they're listening to. And I'm 5 floors up, and it still sounds like that. Fellow New Yorker here? Yeah, so you know. You know what's up. Well, I'm very glad to motivate a fellow pencil user. Very glad indeed. You know, we pencil boys, we gotta stick together. People are always out here trying to get us to work in color, trying to get us to do big areas of value. Nonsense. Stick with me, you'll be just fine. No color, all black and white. Nice itchy little lines, see? Yeah. Now this is the real deal right here. Hard to see, impossible to reproduce, can't photograph it, scans poorly, barely visible, looks terrible on Instagram and on cell phones. Now this is real art right here. When you work digital, do you ever turn off pressure sensitivity for line weight? Yeah. Usually when I'm painting. When I'm drawing stuff, I'll almost always have it on. Almost always. I do turn it off sometimes for drawing, but I'll almost always have it on for drawing. But when I'm painting and coloring stuff, I like to know exactly what the size of the paint daub that I'm going to put down is going to be. So I usually turn it off. Although it is great to try new things, I am pretty unstable with digital work. I feel a need to work on it though. Did you have any difficulty turning to digital art, and how did you overcome those? I personally didn't really, because I've been doing digital art for a very long time as well. Started doing quote unquote paintings in MS Paint back when I was like 10 or something like that, so I've had a lot of familiarity with it. So I just have a lot of mileage. It wasn't really like a transition. I've been doing it for almost as long as I've been drawing. You know, I got my first version of, I had like my first drawing tablet and was like using it in Photoshop by the time I was 13-ish or something like that. And I was using Photoshop since even before then. It just requires mileage. But don't feel forced into it. Like, you can develop a lot of your skills traditional, and then you really only, if you know you need to go into commercial work, then you can add digital into your tool bag once you have your skills kind of figured out a little bit traditionally, if you're more comfortable with that. Just it's like, it's easier for most people if you know your skills and what you like doing and how you like doing it traditional, and then you just add in digital. And when you do digital, you're using the tools to only replicate what you do traditional, because too much is possible with digital. You can just do anything. So it's usually better for most people to just say, I'm just trying to replicate my traditional techniques, and you just try to get as close to them as you can. And you just don't worry about everything else. Yeah, I get you. For me, there's nothing better than the scratchy scratch of the pencil on the paper. It's all I need. I'm getting pretty hungry, so I'm going to run off and have lunch very soon. So if you have any last questions for me or anything like that, we've been on for a while, just throw them in the chat and we'll see who I can answer before I go. Oh, thank you, Telmo. I'm glad you enjoyed. Fun to sketch. Fun to just fill up a page with some sketches. Keep on dancing. I see a lot of artists only use knives to sharpen their pencils. Is there a reason you seem to be using a pencil sharpener instead? Whoa, 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 whoa. If you think that using knives is the norm, it's not. It's just because only people who sharpen their pencils with knives are going to make a video about how they do it. So that's why you're getting the impression that all these artists are sharpening their pencils with knives. They're not. Everybody uses regular pencil sharpeners as well. It's just you're not going to make a video about how you use a regular pencil sharpener. The knife sharpened like Watts Atelier tip is like a very specific thing for a very specific group of artists who are going for a very specific look. Most artists don't work like that. I'm sorry to hear that, Lucas. That sucks. Do you think that paid art courses are something vital for new artists? I mean, there's so much good free material online that it's almost like people pay for courses only to support their favorite artists. Yeah, both, I would say. I don't think paid art courses are essential or vital for new artists. I think most new artists should really just spend as much time drawing as possible and connecting with the medium and not let methodologies or pedagogies get in their way. But I also think it's fine to pay for courses to support their favorite artists. I mean, the arts need patrons, you know, it's their money. They could do whatever they want with it. I know a few people who have told me they have done that explicitly, either with myself or with other artists. And, you know, if they can afford it, it's up to them what they want to do with their resources. I think it's great. But, yeah, make no illusions about it. Courses are not vital for the beginner artist. It's more vital to develop a love for what you're doing. All right, one more minute here, and I'll hop off. This page could definitely use some more work. As a sketchy sketch page, it's fine. But if it was smaller, it could have looked tighter by now, but this is a pretty big sheet. It's an A3 sheet, so. Thanks for answering my questions and doing live art. Super refreshing to see as a small human artist growing second to second. You're the first professional artist I've had a chance to communicate with. Oh, that's cool. That's really awesome to hear. Yeah, we're out there. And you can talk to artists. You know, you can't always expect an answer back. But you can reach out, you can ping people. A lot of my artist friends really do whatever they can to get back to people if it's at all possible. My email is totally trashed right now. I don't know how I'm going to catch up with all the emails. If you've sent me an email recently, again, I have to say, I probably read it. Like, I probably did read your email and listen to everything that you said and read the kind words or engaged with your plight and your trouble. Like, I do read them. It's just, I don't have the time to answer them right now, unfortunately, which sucks. You know, I have a good amount of fun answering all those emails, and I've been doing it for years, but now it's just like my email's completely trashed. I can't get back to everybody. But I like talking to people here in this environment. Hey, my pleasure. All right, I'm gonna run. I will see you all soon. If you are continuing to draw today, I hope all your drawings go great. Thank you for drawing today. Thanks for giving the art world your practice and producing a little bit of peace and joy inside of yourself. And see you all soon. Take care. Happy Saturday.